Hey there, food fans. Welcome back to the Food for Thoughtcast with me, your host, Melissa Reagan, and my co-host with the most chefs, Steven Gonzalez. We are super excited to bring to you our guest today, Angelo Carotenuto, the founder and co-owner of Live Tours. What is going on, Angelo?
Hey, thank you for having me, Melissa and Steve. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here. How's everybody doing today?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for a better day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Steve, what's the weather doing there? We were just talking about it before we started recording.
You know, we were in the 90s yesterday in West Texas. Now, or when I woke up this morning, it was like 50 something, and now it's probably like in the 70s. So it's kind of all over the place.
Yes. America is having a strange weather day. Angelo, tell us where you are recording from today.
You know what? Rome has been having a strange spring too. So that's where I'm from. Rome, Italy. It's been rainy beginning part of the spring with the temperatures not going over the 70s or 60s, I should say. I have to translate in Fahrenheit and think fast in my head.
I couldn't imagine like having that kind of math in my head. It sounds terrifying.
I literally shoot out of my head. But I think today was about 20, 22 degrees. It was very beautiful. So I guess 70s.
I love it. So it's also springtime there.
Yeah.
Perfect. What is spring like in Italy? I've never been.
So I'm proud to say that differently from Carolina and Texas, wink, wink, we actually have 4 seasons.
Hey.
Wow.
I love it.
Yeah. There's parts of the world that do. No, besides the teas, there's this beautiful spring where Marzo Pazzo, it's called. Marzo Pazzo means crazy March, where the transition from winter to summer is very much like what we're living. Rainy days, we're 12 to 13 degrees Celsius, and then these beautiful 20, 22 degrees Celsius. And then the summers can be very, very warm. It doesn't really matter anymore where you're in Italy. It can be very, very warm. So 90s, late 90s, early hundreds, even some parts in Sicily, especially. Humid for the most part in this part of Italy, in Rome. Fall is probably nowadays the greatest part of the year to be in Italy, for a number of reasons. Foliage, wine season, amazing ingredients. Since we're here, I'm doing a food podcast. And then winter, I mean, in Rome, it's pretty mild. But it snows. There's ski resorts. There's all the shebang. So yeah, 4 full seasons.
It's incredible. I think that my idea of what Italy is like is no doubt from like movies and TV shows. So it's just in my mind, it just looks like a sunny vineyard all the time. To think about it snowing there is a little bit crazy to me, just because I'm a bit ignorant of it, just because I've never been. But it is on my list. Steve, have you been?
Yeah, you should.
I have been once. Let's see. We took a cruise and we went through we stopped in Livorno, Rome, Sicily. I think that was about it. Very, very lovely weather. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, just like you, I always think of like just sunny and just beautiful weather. You don't think of it as, having snow or anything like that,
It's like it's very much romanticized, I think. So not that the whole country isn't beautiful, I'm sure, but I think just like the one snapshot that most folks like myself have in their head is just a sunny vineyard with red wine everywhere, So, well, listen, so every week we start our show by asking each other, what was the most amazing thing you ate this week? So Steve, why don't you go first?
Well, I just got back from Hawaii. And so one of the most amazing things that we had was we took a food tour and we got to go enjoy tuna like fresh in the market, and it just like butter melted in your mouth. So even though it was like bite size, still the best thing I've had to eat all week,
I love it. Man, nothing beats tuna. I would get all sort of mercury poisoning, iodine poisoning. Like I really just am addicted to like raw fish in all of its forms, poke and all of that. I made fajita bowls this week. They were insanely good. I marinated, once again, tofu. Meat got really expensive during the middle of COVID, and I stopped buying it so much. I let other people pay for it. So I eat for free at work, and I'll eat meat there. And at home, I use a lot of beans, a lot of tofu, a lot of grains to get my protein, or a lot of dairy. So I marinated the tofu in chili powder and lime juice and beer and hot sauce, all the things that you would do to make a great chicken fajita, and did lime yogurt, pico de gallo, and black beans. And I made caramelized onion rice pilaf on the stove. So it was really fantastic. What about you, Angelo?
All right. So if the week starts on Monday and today is Wednesday,
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
I have to choose yesterday's lunch.
You can go all the way back to last Wednesday if you want. If you wanted to make it a 7-day period.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I've made my choice.
Got it.
So nearby our office here in Rome, there is this very small little shop from a town in Benevento. So this little guy, elderly man, he's in his 60s, from Benevento, which is a province near Naples, came up and opened a shop that is not much bigger than the room I'm in, so 3 meters by 2 meters of mozzarella.
Oh man.
that they make there, and the southern Italy, and especially Campania, Naples region, Benevento is super famous for delicious mozzarella. The type of mozzarella that I say it's almost on the verge of being crunchy, but it's that beautiful sound that it makes while it's in your mouth. And as it feels crunchy, it also breaks and explodes with milk everywhere on your plate and in your mouth. And he just imports from his hometown these great huge balls of mozzarella. You can choose whatever size. I choose the 200 grams, and he makes this plate for me: mozzarella, some prosciutto ham from San Daniele, now from the north where it's from, and then he's got these vegetables, side veggies that are drowned in olive oil or vinegar, and they've been in jars for long, and they're completely dressed or baked or cooked or fried, but then they've been drowned in oil. And this is all healthy, yeah? This is like super healthy.
Absolutely.
This is me being on a diet.
It's meat, cheese, and vegetables. Where could you go wrong?
Exactly. Exactly right. Thank you. So it was stripes of eggplant, and then
I love it.
this the kind of sweet spinach that they stir fry and then deep in garlic and olive oil and serve it in a jar. So he gave me these two, pulled them out of the jars, gave me this mozzarella prosciutto, and then I was in heaven.
Oh my gosh, that sounds. I'm going to book a plane ticket right now. Like, that sounds incredible. For all our friends listening who are here stateside, 200 grams is just shy of a half of a pound, and San Daniele prosciutto is a little bit sweeter. It comes from the front of the leg, and it's usually, I don't know, 12 to 20 to 24 months aged. And the mozzarella can, if anybody didn't know, just like Angelo was describing, it can have different varying levels of soft to firm, right? You can get that stracciatella really close to a burrata. And then you can get all the way that's been aged, just before you hit kind of that provolone texture. So that sounds insane. I want to eat it right now. I want to eat it right now. So that is.
What time is it over there
amazing.
in Rome, Angelo?
Say that again, Steve.
What time is it over there in Rome?
It is 6:11 p.m.
Oh wow, I'm far
This
behind.
podcast
It's 11 over here, so.
Yeah.
So the good old standard American dinner time would be right around 6 o'clock. Are we keeping you from eating dinner right now?
No, well, I have two children with that we love having dinner with, and we have dinner with every night, and we try and feed early American time, between 6:30 and 7. But my wife from Sweden, so on Wednesdays they go to Swedish school, and so they don't really come back until 7:30. So we're clear. We'll just all be very hungry at 7:30.
Oh, well, thank you so much. If you start to get hangry and you've got to hang it up, like, let us know. I get it. Live tours. I can't wait to dig into this. So you started leading tours in 2004, and then in 2012 you formed this partnership with Kirsten, right? And tell us a little bit about how it started, or like how did you get into this? Is it something you always wanted to do?
Yes and no. I come from a family full of musicians, dancers, singers, performing artists.
Cool.
So people that are very used to being in public, or my parents had an orchestra, so they're actually pretty entrepreneurial, even though. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Nonprofit.
Wow.
Yeah, nonprofit, which made it even more challenging, I suppose. Um, but so that was sort of by, I guess, what I was signed up to do, right? Went to college in Los Angeles, got a major in acting with a minor in music, and took a lot of European art history classes just out of interest. But one of the summers that I would go back, now it had been over 15 years that my parents were organizing a summer festival, opera festival in this gorgeous 1600 courtyard in the center of Rome with a Borromini church in the background. And they would set up a stage in front of the church, professional orchestra, their orchestra in front of it, and they'd invite post edition 80 or 90 of the best, most promising graduate school opera singers of the United States who wanted to have first European experience with an orchestra in a gorgeous venue.
Wow.
So since I was ye tall, every summer I had, these productions to be part of in whatever shape or form, whether I was holding a flag for Sarastro and the Magic Flute, or I got to dance or sing or be part of the choir, whatever it was. And then it was 2003 that I would come back to Rome and obviously be part of the production or help out. Now I was actually acting and had been cast in several shows, so now I was an actual performer. But that was the summer where, I guess it was the most fun because it was not just being part of the production, it was being a chaperone to the city, right? All these 80, 90 incredible individuals wanted to rehearse, but also wanted to go out for dinners, see museums, go to art galleries, party. Yeah. So, I felt, little 20-year-old me, I was like, I'll handle all of this, I'll do it for you. And unbeknownst to me, 6 of those singers never took their flight back home.
Wow.
They were so deeply impacted by their summer in Rome that they decided to take a break from their American life, their American education, their professional career, whatever it was going on. Divorce, one of them finalized the divorce.
Good grief.
I kid you not. And I'm saying unbeknownst to me because at this point I had gone back to college. As everything, it's a summer thing. So once September hits, you have the memories, but you're probably never going to see these people again. But it was the following semester I get cast in Candide, and there's no Facebook at that time, so literally mass emails. You know that nobody's going to answer, but you send it anyways. And the only person that answered is one of those 6 singers. And she sent me a bunch of pictures of them in this apartment, telling me they stayed, they had never gone back, they moved. And I'm like responding immediately. I'm like, what are you doing? There's no jobs for English-speaking people, expats, it's Italy. And she replies and she says, we're all tour guides.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Like if you can't beat them, join them.
Exactly. So first thing I did as soon as I flew back for the following summer, I met up with her. She explained to me how she got into it. Followed her the next day, figured out I not only was, I liked the dynamics of it. I knew a lot of the stuff that she was saying, and I loved being in front of people. And it could have been a great summer job. So 2 weeks of training, reading more books, studying, prepping, and then I was there at the Vatican Museums giving tours. Go back to college, graduate. I was hoping to go to London and do a master's program and have an acting career, but that didn't pan out. So moved back to Rome, had this amazing job. And between 2004, I like to say in 2009, the way I present it to people is I think I signed up to the best gym for tour guiding, meaning that I let myself literally do anything, learn and appreciate everything. So yes, I was doing VAPs, I was doing free tours, I was doing skip the line, I was doing cruise ships, I was doing food tours, day trips, I was doing museum tours, literally a little bit of everything. I was taking 50 children from the US to see 12 capitals in 8 days. So I was everywhere. And in 2009, I just had the idea of starting Live Italy. And it's another epiphany that maybe we can do another podcast.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm always amazed how somebody's story comes together. All the little, rabbit trails and all the things that could have been, or, that maybe did happen, but like all of the ways that it comes together, and then everything kind of working out the way that it's supposed to. Right. I think it's like, it's a beautiful thing to kind of witness somebody's journey into what they want to be doing, or, into what they're doing now. I think that's amazing. I think it's so great. Congratulations. It seems like it's going well. It's got a lot of longevity. I want to know, of course, for this podcast, like, what role do you think food plays in travel? Because for Steve and I, we don't travel based on what we're going to see. We go like, what are we going to eat?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think it's quintessential to expose yourself to local flavors, because the hormones that it induces, okay, so I guess I'm going to approach it this way. Our senses are stimulated when we travel. We can look at beautiful parks, buildings, paintings, and we're affected by them. We can listen to beautiful music performed locally, and we'll be affected by it. But on the other hand, these senses are constantly used, and we may or may not be extremely practiced of being judgmental towards them, or absorb them or digest them, if you will. Food is quite different. Food, we can immediately understand. It's a sense that sparks so many different emotions, that we can immediately understand and read the code of the layers of that culture or that history as it explodes in our mouth. So I think that, and mind you, it is the number one, and this is hard because we are so judgmental about food. It is the number one experience that you need to expose yourself without being subjective, and just being observant, because that is that one time where you're going to be faced with the reality that the way you live at home is not the only way that the entire humanity lives. That there's thousands, millions of other ways.
Yeah.
And food is the very first realization of that. And so you have to be open to flavors and make them affect you, not be judgmental. Of course, you can like or dislike. Latins used to say, de gustibus non disputandum est. Nobody can argue with your taste, with your preferences. However, when you're there to learn and understand those layers of culture, you should be observant and understanding of what it gives you, what it sparks in you.
I think it's so important to consider that it's just a big dose of perspective. And while you were describing what you ate this week, I was just thinking in the back of my mind how underappreciated is that eggplant is, how underrated eggplant is to folks like us. Like, I'm a culinarian. I love eggplant a lot of different ways, sweet and sour, a really traditional Parmesan, Milanese, like making it rollatini, right? Like there's a lot of things that you can do with it. Even just eggplant pickles, or even in Japanese cuisine, there's a lot of uses, right? Yeah, but I think that it's overlooked and it's underrated. And that and on that plate, it got to be a star, which is just a complete mindset shift. What do you think, Steve?
Melissa.
Okay, so let me piggyback off of that. I mean, like Melissa said, when we go on trips, it's not what are we going to go see? It's what are we going to go eat? We plan our trip around the restaurants, the meals, things like that. And I'm pretty sure that you've had customers and people who aren't exactly like us, so that are a little bit more closed-minded to like the local flavor, something different. Like, do you ever come across people like that? And do you change their perspective on things, or have you? Like, tell me about that.
You mean that you have to break them into?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly,
You have to teach them how to eat.
Kind of a vague question, but yeah.
So I hope I can answer what you're asking, Steve, by but with two sort of anecdotes or interesting facts. One is the very first thing we need to break into people is the understanding of how extraordinarily regionalized food is. People tend to really forget that, especially in a capitalistic, especially if they're North American clients. even though it is very regionalized in North America, but you tend to sort of forget that that there's authentic local flavors even in such a new country like United States. But here, being so ingrained in our culture for so much longer, it is even much more regionalized. And because our agriculture and our produce is not so capitalistic, we do rely on ingredients that are seasonal and that come from the place for historical reasons.
Yeah.
So one of the greatest breakthroughs that I try and get people to perceive is how extraordinarily misconceived or what an extraordinary misconception there is around carbonara. Carbonara is a dish that everybody knows, that everybody tries to make in every parts of the world, and that is the very first thing that people want to try when they're in Italy, right? And that's the very first mistake. You don't try carbonara when you're in Italy. I can guarantee you that a carbonara in Milan or in Venice or in Naples, I can't use a bad word, but it will not. It will not.
You can use
good.
that word.
Meaning it'll be as close as possible with probably its original form, but it will not be good. And by good, I mean real, authentic, as it is in Rome and the surrounding region, where, pastors with their sheep used to come down with pecorino cheese, salted and dried. Eggs, it's a whole other discussion. You guys are having an egg crisis, but that's also very local. And the most important ingredient, which is the most, I can say this word, prostituted ingredient, is the use of the cheap pork, the cheek of the pork, which in Italian is guanciale, rather than bacon, which is the cheap, fast way that everybody thinks and believes carbonara should be made with. And the cheek of the pork is something that comes from the meat factory in Rome, where pork, meaning the major meat that was produced and sold at the meat factory in Rome, pig, was not all bought. Not all pieces were consumed by high-end consumers in the city of Rome. And so there were certain parts that were staying unsold. The intestines, so the inners, and the cheek. And so these poor families that may have worked in the meat factory or were in the surrounding area called testaccio would go and grab the pieces that they weren't selling for, half the price, a tenth of the price, and make up recipes with it. And one of the recipes would be a carbonara, because egg was cheap, pecorino cheese was cheap, the guanciale was cheap, and it was really, really filling. And you could, feed your whole family with a complete meal in one pasta dish, proteins, carbs, and cheese and fat. But it is essential that it is made with guanciale, because guanciale has a very different flavor than bacon, for example. And so when when I break this reality to clients, they're like, who may have just eaten a carbonara in Milan, they're like, oh, well, we need to try that here then. and I break them into that by making them realize how essential it is to understand what local flavors are and what the tradition of that is. And the other way is by designing food tours that I call them dynamic journeys through local flavors in time and space. I know this sounds very strange.
No, I love it.
Most food tour companies have the tendency, and there's no right or wrong way, there's just two different ways to do this, have the tendencies of taking you into places and do tastings. Like you go into a cheese shop, you take a little bite of cheese, you go into that fish market, you get that little piece of tuna, you go into the wine shop, you get a little toothy. Okay. No local would ever eat like that. Have you ever seen a local that goes and grabs a little piece of this and a little piece of that? No, a local will go to a street food. It could be a taco truck, or it could be a pizza by the slice place, or a fried food little joint. And we'll get there in a wrapped paper and walk with it and eat as fast as he can, because he's gone from one place to another one. Or sit down and have on a very or sit up or stand up, sorry, in an aperitivo kind of place and have what Italians are best at, which is convivium, which is drinking wine and having some cold cuts and cold cheeses and standing, just chit-chatting, getting their stomach ready for then going to sit down at a restaurant. Or they go and sit down at a restaurant and maybe have just hors d'oeuvres, and just eat that. So that's what we do. We take them up and down in this very dynamic way, from standing to street food to luxury restaurants to gelato places, and have them do what a local would do any given evening of their life.
Yeah.
That's
amazing.
That sounds incredible. I want to have like a progressive 2 or 3 different phases of a meal every single day.
Yeah.
The way that Americans prioritize their time is like, go home, put this thing in the air fryer, 20 minutes to eat, on to the next thing, right? It's very unromantic. It's necessary because of the way that our schedules and that kind of the societal expectations are. But man, it takes all the romance, all the love out of it. It takes all the whimsy out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like when I was in Hawaii last week, that food tour we did, we didn't just take like a little bite of something. We had a small plate of something, and everything was about like 4 or 5 ounces. And I think we made like 9 different stops. And, even the tour guide said, you don't have to get through everything, pace yourself. And of course, I just shoveled food in my mouth little by little. And it was an amazing thing. So like when you say there's 2 different ways you can go, I like the more authentic experience of, we're going to stop here. We're going to have a little bit to eat here, not just like a small piece and move on. Like to me, that's the way it should be, And I can only imagine, I've been to Italy once, but like I said, there's all sorts of different like regional, different takes on just, for example, a carbonara, like you were saying, like even in Texas, Mexican food, like if you're in West Texas, South Texas, Central Texas, North, like it's all different, like takes on a traditional Mexican taco. It's amazing how different everything can be just being a few hours away,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to know, I looked at a couple of locations that you do on the website, and I want to know if you have a favorite food tour out of all the ones that you offer, or are they all sort of customized to the group?
So they all have more or less this sort of skeleton build structure to them.
Sure.
Where we make sure that they get this very dynamic experience. But I suppose again, I'm so sorry. In Italian, we say you answer 0-0, meaning you give non-answers very diplomatically. I don't want to offend any of my destinations.
Please. I mean, it's fine.
Look, London and Paris are the craziest because you kind of have to dig deep into how influenced these 2 cities have been by being colonies and having huge amounts of migration and lots of different religions and cultures. So you'll never expect to stop and have falafel in Paris, but we do.
Sure.
You'd never stop and have bao bao in London, but we do. So those are fun in terms of like all these sort of different flavors, and that's the one that I'd say I'm kind of fascinated by is the one in Florence, because we kind of push the limits on our clients in Florence. So starts with your beautiful platter of Tuscan cheeses and Tuscan hams and Chianti wine and this gorgeous wine bar, wine cafe, wine shop. And then we get out and we walk around the corner, and about 200 meters from Piazza della Signoria, so deep at the center of town, in a secondary square, there is a food truck, like you'd see on the side of the highway in California,
Sure.
And this truck is serving sandwiches. And it has this big, huge pot of boiling broth. And every once in a while, inside, he pulls out, and there's all the intestines. And that he's been boiling with some tomatoes, some broth, some spices, etc. And what he does is he puts them on his cutting board. He cuts them, chops them, and then puts them inside the sandwich, this beautiful bread, Tuscan bread, and that's what you eat. So we're really kind of pushing our client, to look at all of that to get, and it's delicious. I mean, it's so tasty. It's so romantic. And it's so local because it's right there in the center of your town. And that's what Florentine in a suit, who is working probably in fashion or in shops or in the offices would stop and get a panino with intestines inside. And Americans, our clients are like, oh, wow, do I really need to? And we're like, you don't have to. There's a second option, but this would be local.
To me, that's a once in a lifetime, right? Like, I'm sure I can afford at some point in my life to go to Italy more than once, but I treat every vacation like this is the only time we're going to get to do this, right? Yep. Like the stakes are high, right? Like you have to do it. You have to experience all the things,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It always pays off to be an adventurous eater, So like you were saying, once in a lifetime for some people, I'd be all about it, Just embrace it.
Yeah.
Well, Steve likes menudo, of course. I don't, but I would eat that in a sandwich. I think the acid from the tomatoes probably helps tenderize, and I kind of like the idea, and I would do it. So I like offal meat on the whole. Like I just something texturally about menudo, but I bet it's different. Could be different. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I somewhere far back in American culinary times, we learned quickly that the word Florentine means add spinach if you're looking at a brunch menu. So in America, if you see like a Florentine omelet, it's like with spinach. So can you explain to us? I don't know why, but can you explain to us maybe what like alla Florentina or what Florentine means? Like, what does that mean in food? So it's such an American thing. It's so weird.
Yeah, I'm trying to dig deep and understand why in English alla Florentine would mean with spinach.
I don't know.
I would have to ask my Florence guides if they find any sort of connection. When we say Florentine, it simply means from Florence. There's no the only thing that we call the only food proper item that we call a Fiorentina. And it doesn't mean from Florence, but it's a Fiorentina. It means from Tuscany, but it's a T-bone steak.
Oh, okay.
A T-bone steak we call a Fiorentina. But alla Florentine, meaning in the style of Florentine, I have never heard that it means with spinach.
That is a complete American bastardization. No doubt about it.
It must be. It must be.
And I almost have a feeling that it's in some way, even if it's not on purpose, derogatory, kind of like people would say potatoes O'Brien on a menu, and it's because the Irish like potatoes, right? Like it's just one of those weird American like descriptors that maybe comes from like a not great place, but then becomes like just jargon. So I was always really curious about that, but yeah. So it is it's just an American misnomer.
Yeah, I guess so. It must be.
So crazy. What about Seville? I'm a huge tapas and paella lover. Tell me about the food experience there.
So the greatest flavor. I mean, and I speak for myself, but I speak for my son Nicholas, who's 8. Both my children are food connoisseurs. Like we've exposed them to everything. We travel a lot with them, and they try everything, and they like everything, I have to say. And they can be very judgmental in a good way. I mean, they can be really like, oh, there must be some almond paste in here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one of the favorite experiences that we did was try jamon. And we did a vertical, like you do a vertical of wine. We did a vertical of jamon.
Nice.
12, 18, 24, 36, 72 months.
Wow. Yes.
And he was being like nitty picky about,
I love it.
Oh, this is a little fatter, this one a little liquider, this one, and like this is drier.
That's so sweet. I love it.
But of course, tapas of all sorts. Your green bell peppers, your patas bravas, your croquets. These are the typicals that everybody gets because, in general, in Spain, they have two things that they're particularly famous for. One is they kind of fry a lot of food, so croquets, patas bravas, the bell peppers, etc. And the other one is they have a sweet tooth. Like churros and hot chocolate is a Spanish invention.
Yep.
And Seville is no short of that. When we were there testing a few tours, we brought our children, and Pamen, our incredible guide manager in Seville and tour guide, was literally feeding candy, but not nasty candy, but sweet stuff to my children every half an hour, because it's just how they are, let me have you try this. And we walk into the shop and and try this. But definitely the vertical on jamons was the best experience I had.
I love it. I love it so much.
Let's take it back to your house. So since you are so well-traveled and you've gotten to experience all these different things, do you ever try to recreate dishes that just had an impact on you with the kids and all that? Or are y'all like, what do y'all typically make for dinners, things like that?
Yeah. And do you like to cook, Angelo?
Yeah. We both Christine and I like to cook. Christine is incredible at making, boeuf bourguignon, for example. She's really good. The other day, Nicholas was sick, and he had a little high fever, and he was like, "Papa, I really, really, really want to go out for lunch." And I said, "You're sick, dude. We're just going to stay home." And he says, "Well, then you need to make me an amatriciana pasta."
Ooh.
So I was like, "All right, take a pill. And once your fever goes down, let's go to the store and choose really the real ingredients to make an amatriciana pasta. And get the best pasta possible, even if it's $5 a box. And then choose the right pecorino, and then choose the right tomato sauce. And then together." So I guess there's no boundaries. I mean, lately, for example, literally, my kids are obsessed with Taco Tuesday. So, I mean, again, there's no boundaries, from beef bourguignon to fish soups to Taco Tuesdays to amatricanas to barbecue. Love to barbecue at least once or twice a week. So we do literally everything. We're a very balanced diet, I have to say.
I love it. I love it. So what does Taco Tuesday look like in a household in Rome? What is the availability of all the things? Like, I'm super intrigued.
I am so embarrassed. Yeah, exactly. Listen, as a half Californian speaking to Texans about Taco Tuesday in Italy, it's half cooked by a Swede. It's embarrassing because Swedish tacos are terrible. They're like terrible. They throw in there.
What is a Swedish taco? Let's go.
I don't know. The tacos that we used to have, in California. I've never been to Texas, so I'm pretty sure it's different. But it's that soft, maybe 10 centimeter wide flat taco with some carne asada, maybe some cilantro and some onions, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's not cheese. Okay. It's not sour cream. It's not refried beans. It's different. Yeah, it's different.
Oh yeah. And the Swedes put corn, fresh corn. They put salad. They put pickles. They literally put everything. Don't get me started.
I love it.
So of course, the Mexican section in Italian grocery stores is not that big. It's probably like as big as as wide as my shoulders.
Got it.
So you can only choose one type of sauce. You can only choose one type of burrito or taco. and the mix for your ground beef that you're going to probably stir fry it, and that's it. And then the kids just, maybe, the best we can do is buy an avocado and put it in there. You can't even really find cilantro, unfortunately.
I was going
unless
to
you go.
ask, like, can you find it? Like, where would you find it? You know?
The only place you find cilantro in Rome is the International Market downtown next to the train station. And we live outside of the city at this point. So no, we have tacos without cilantros, unfortunately.
It's a travesty.
Yeah.
What a barbecue looks like for you out there.
Yeah, what's barbecue look like? What is it?
That's an incredible question, because we tend to not dress our meat at all.
Mhm.
We take the meat for the flavor that it has.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a nice piece of beef, raise your temperature to 280, big, thick, tall piece of filet. You put it for 2 minutes on one side, 2 minutes on your side. Then you put some, thick pieces of salt before eating it. Some people put a little bit of olive oil, and that's it. There's no massaging the meat with salt, pepper, and all sorts of different spices. There's no putting in the meat in Ziploc bags for 24 hours before, and all sorts of different mustard barbecue sauces and mixtures. Yeah. I've done that. I've done it, and it's pleasurable. The most I do every once in a while is put some Worcester and some salt and pepper, and that's it, to give it a little bit extra flavor. But it's really straightforward. Put the meat on the grill, let it cook, and then dress it however you wish when you're ready to eat it.
Nice. So you're really focusing on the quality of the meat then. You're just
on the quality of the product.
Meat. Yeah. I think it's interesting, right? Like how barbecuing and grilling looks around the world, and you're focusing on the starting product, whereas in other cultures where we get like the Carolina barbecue tradition, the Kansas barbecue tradition, even in Texas, it was about taking a cheaper cut of meat and like manipulating it to make it taste better. So it's kind of like the opposite effect. Both equally tasty, but just completely different perspectives on that. It's interesting.
So just outside of our house, there's these beautiful valleys, and these are local farms. We're going to call them organic farms, where and it's the consortium, so it's different businesses, where the animals are free and they're not in cages, and they have all sorts of different things. So then the consortium puts it all into one shop that is down the street from us, and they'll sell you fresh eggs, beef, meat, chicken,
like a co-op,
cheeses, like a co-op, exactly. And it's like, from around the corner, you've watched that animal on that hill for the past, a couple of years or whatever it is. And that's it. That's all we really need. It costs, it's affordable, and it's tasty, and it's healthy.
What a novel concept. I love it. I love the idea. That is the dream. I love that. Love that.
It's simplicity at its finest. You get to really enjoy every single ingredient and appreciate it for what it's worth. You know what I'm saying? I like that.
Yeah, there's, like for the mozzarella example, it's like, my wife's sister puts pesto sauce on the mozzarella when we have mozzarella here in the house when they come over and visit, and that drives me insane. Like, no. Taste the mozzarella. Why do you have to ruin it? Of course, pestos. You can't do like Joey and Friends. Pesto, mozzarella, put them together. It doesn't work like that for us. You don't need to corrupt the taste, the flavor. Enjoy the ingredient for what it has to offer. Combinations, absolutely good, but drowning a masterpiece of an ingredient into all sorts of different things. And of course, this is, I'm not being judgmental. I'm just telling you how Italians believe in food, because I enjoy all sorts.
You're with friends now. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a quick Google search. I just want to bring it back to Florentine real quick. As a culinary term, Florentine is associated with dishes featuring spinach and Swiss cheese, like eggs Florentine, sole Florentine, or quiche Florentine. But it is believed to have been coined to honor Catherine de' Medici, a Florentine-born queen of France. So it is a French culinary term. But over here in America, it just means put spinach in it. So super interesting, right?
Caterina de Medici was a food aficionado, and she was extraordinarily ahead of her time with what she brought from Florence into French monarchy. But I had no idea that she would have come up and coined with that term and then make it international.
I think that somebody did it in honor of her, but I was just laughing about like how does it feel to your legacy is to have an omelet named or a quiche named after you? I think it's kind of funny, but
yeah.
So I'm sure it wasn't what she had in mind for her legacy and the way that she lived her life. But
Probably
here we
not.
are. But here we are, right? But here we are. What do you think the next big trends in food travel are as far as for your industry? Are you seeing things changing? People asking for new things that you didn't offer before? Is there anything different on the horizon for live tours?
Yeah. So data tells us that food tours or food experiences are the fastest growing experience in the entire tour guiding sector. There's more and more search and more desire to, it's actually one of our, even at Live Tours, actually proven more at Live Tours where we offer everything, literally from a Ferrari test drive to a museum tour to a food tour, like literally everything that these cultures have to offer. And we do see an extraordinarily beautiful increase in our food experiences across all of the destinations that we're very proud of. What I think is going to be in the near future is a lot more hands-on. Those see a spike in growth and an interest even more. You don't have to be a chef. You don't have to be. You don't even have to be somebody who actually does cook at home. But the ability to speak to a local who has that passion. He or she may not have to be a professional. For example, what we do at Live Tours is we take people in terms of Rome. We do all sorts of hands-on cooking experiences, from gelato making classes. We're now launching a cooking school. We're building a cooking school. But what we're doing right now is we take people to my mom's house, literally to my mother's house. Now, I did tell you my mother's Californian. She's born and raised there, but she spent most of her life in Italy. So she's truly an Italian, and actually her origins are Italian. To be able to go in somebody's house and use their kitchen and spend those 3-4 hours that going through the motions of and collaborating with her in her own kitchen, from anything from hors d'oeuvres all the way down to biscotti, a 3-4 course meal, sipping wine and eating some olives, and then working on the pasta and making 2 kinds. It's a little bit like reliving or traditionally Italian nonnas, Italian grandmothers would have lived, some of them still do, on a Sunday when they have to feed the whole family, and they spend hours and hours in the kitchen and then hours and hours sitting down with their loved ones, sometimes after Mass, if you will. And so that sort of very intimate, I hate this word, but I'm going to have to use a very authentic experience. To go into somebody's home and spend 2 or 3, 4 hours with them, going through that very beautiful tradition, and then enjoying those flavors because she picked those personally from her local store, and chit-chatting on why she does it that way and how this has been, tradition passed by her grandmother, and her grandmother learned her from the other grandparent, and so forth. I think this is going to be the fastest growing experience ever.
I was just going to ask you if it was like cooking classes or if you were partnering with local businesses and stuff, but wow, I mean, that sounds incredible. And like, did you have to did it take some convincing? Did she volunteer? Like, how did that happen?
So no, actually, no. We used to do it with another nonna, another grandmother. And then it became, there was so much request and she was having some back problems and stuff like that. And she just said, Angelo, I'm sorry. So I was telling the story to my mom, and she was like, I can't believe you never thought about me.
Wow.
So then I was like, Mom, you're absolutely right. You'd be perfect for this, especially because, but you're an amazing chef. You love to cook. You love to cook for your family. You have your tricks, and you do love to make homemade pasta and stuff like that. And you speak perfect English. So what more could these people want? So yeah,
When it kind of takes out the middleman, like nobody has to translate, and maybe it makes people who've never been to another country more comfortable. I mean, for lack of a better word, right? But I think that it definitely is like bridging the gap there. That sounds like an incredible experience. Like, I want to come meet your mom and make homemade pasta.
I would have a blast doing that.
So,
I feel like
I'd have a wonderful time.
There'd be such a high level of respect that I'd be afraid to touch anything because I wouldn't want to like break anything. You know what I'm saying? I'd be so excited to be in someone's house just cooking.
Yeah. She's literally made, I mean, now she's been doing it for us for 6 or 7 years. She's literally made friendships that are still, they're still pen friends. They still write each other. They still email each other. And they send pictures of that. You remember Bob? He was 5 years old. Now he's 12, and he's literally that kind of connection. And he still talks about cooking pasta with you. And so yeah, it's amazing.
Food is the great uniter. Like it brings us together. It creates the memories and bonds. And I was like thinking to myself while you were talking about this amazing intimate experience, how some families have this incredible food, this like cultural heritage of food, and some don't in the United States. And I was just thinking like, gosh, I've been in the business for 20 years, but I was just thinking like, what kind of legacy would I leave behind? Like, I learned off of TikTok how to make this in the air fryer. Just like your mom used to, like, just kind of weird. Like it just doesn't seem like there's that tradition. Just not in every single home. Right? Like, I don't know. That's mind blowing. So it's mind blowing.
Yeah, you're right. Things have changed though. So society is not allowing us all that time, neither to prep or to consume. Somebody was asking me earlier, if I would change, my life with anything else. And I have to say we're so privileged to be able to be business owners and manage our own hours and pick up our children every day from school and take the time to spend time in the kitchen with them and prepping their dinner and eating together. I mean, this is an incredible privilege, and it has no cost, so has no price. So no, the answer is I'm too lucky. I would never change the way we enjoy food and we enjoy convivium and time together, and this kind of lifestyle. And unfortunately, as you said, Melissa, it isn't everybody's fortune. We're extremely privileged.
Mm-hmm. That's like amazing. It sounds like such a blessing. Explain the word convivium to me. Eating together or imbibing together. Am I getting that right? Drinking together, eating together.
The art of socializing whilst consuming food.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. So the ancient Romans you would have seen paintings or pictures, or you may have seen it in the HB series Rome, where what they're doing is they're lying down sideways with maybe grapes in one hand and a glass of wine in the other one, and it's around a table with lots of beautiful fresh ingredients and fresh produce in the center, and then wine pouring everywhere. And they're all sitting or lying down on their side around this maybe centerpiece, and that's where convivium comes from. And I guess that's where the tradition of just sitting for hours around a table comes from.
Just lounging around and eating. That's my favorite. I like it.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the idea of, and it's also like, I think we've just lost the art of the hangout, just hanging out with each other. Kind of the art of conversation, because everything's digital and really impersonal. Text messages are great and they're really fast and they're extremely convenient. But I think kind of that hours and hours spent on meals is both an art and a privilege that's lost on a lot of people. So I when I go on vacations, I don't know if this is true for you, Steve, but when I travel, it's like next thing. It's like there's an itinerary, and I just want to be like, I want to get all these things. I want to do as many things, eat as many things as possible. But going on a food tour and having that kind of slow down feels like it would be incredible. Just kind of just rewiring and being able to live life at a slower pace, while you're traveling. It's amazing. Like,
you don't want to just go on a vacation and just lounge around and do nothing. Like, at least in your hotel, you want to at least do nothing at a restaurant or something. I try to socialize and have my friends over all the time, but I live in the desert. So, if we hang out outside, we're just covered in dirt right now. This time of year, it's so windy. So we can't do that. But, actually later this week, my wife and I are going to Houston. We're going to go see an art show. I'm going to see some family, things like that. And, as much as I want to have, like, let's do this, we want to slow it down. We'll go check out a few different restaurants. And of course, Houston's a big old melting pot of just different cuisine, things like that. So we're really going to pick where we go, have like one thing, try something else in no rush at all, or at least that's my goal.
Yeah, just like savoring and enjoying life. And it sounds like you found some of the key to that, or you've bottled that in a way. That experience, like, it's awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's incredible. Well, how can people find out about Live Tours, and what is the first step they need to take if they want to get on board with this?
All right. So it's quite easy. Livetours.com, livtours.com. The website is in English, clearly. We serve more than 400 tours in 26 different destinations. So you may be at first a little bit scared by the amount of options, but it's actually very easy to filter where you're going to be traveling, the days you're going to be traveling, and the experiences. You can filter by cost, by people, by category. You want food, you want family, you want experiences, you want day trips, you want adventure, sports, whatever. And then once you find the product, you read, you choose the date, you see the pricing, and you buy. And you build your shopping cart with all your little, items that you're going to be enjoying during vacation. So it's as easy as, I hate to say this, but almost as easy as buying on Amazon. But we have an amazing team, a sales team, available 24/7. They're from Dublin, so they're native English speakers. So if you have any questions about services that you see, or if you don't find what you want and you want to customize it a little bit and maybe add a little bit of touch of something you've been always curious about, they'll be ready to redesign everything for you and keep it very boutique style for you. So livetours.com, follow us on our socials. We're everywhere, but the website is your best resource.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to go follow you right now on the socials. The podcast is going to go follow you. We are going to hype you up and share all your content. I can't wait to take one of these tours one day. I was going to ask if you have like an omakase option, like Angelo, I like eating everything. You just pick it, right? Like I will eat all of it. I will do all the things. You just pick my tour.
You just gave me an incredible idea.
Omakase, right? Yeah. So, woohoo. Well, I don't know. You can mention me in the credits if it works out. But,
I will. Sure.
Angelo, it's been an incredible pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much. People are gonna tune in. They're gonna be like, why do we have why this guy? Like, usually we'll talk to chefs, bakers, or restaurant owners and everything else. It's just as important, right? Like, the hospitality industry is a huge, part of travel as well. So I think this has been a really amazing opportunity for our listeners, and it was really nice talking to you. This was awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it was a real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You're just in time. You're gonna get your kids home, and then you can all eat dinner together. So
yeah, will do.
All right, perfect. Well, Angelo, Steve, let's get out of here.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.